Moore really wasn't open until Caleb already had the ball kind of caught back, right? And I thought it was also too close for Caleb to run it. At that point, it seems like Cole Kmet was the read, and that's what he was waiting for. So yeah, I mean, your initial reaction is like, "Hey, could have done this, could have done that," but no. I'm leaning towards what you're saying as well. Maybe could you put a little bit more air on it? Maybe lead them towards the corner a little bit more. Yeah, but yeah, no, I totally because for a second, Cole Kmet was wide open, right? Again, maybe Caleb could have seen it a little bit earlier, but as far as the play call, play design, I wasn't upset with it. You just wish the execution was better, but don't hate the process.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the execution definitely could have been better. Maybe Caleb could have thrown it further. I don't know. Like at the same time, too, like the defense had a really good answer for that play, like or that player did, I should say. Like he made an incredible play because he basically just left DJ Moore. That's why DJ Moore was so open. Nixon just left him
Yeah,
because he saw Cole Kmet. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things that like you could have, like you said, Snyder, you could say coulda, woulda, shoulda, but like at the end of the day, like structurally, I thought the play worked and the defense kind of just did, or Keyshawn Nixon did something that he wasn't supposed to be there and ended up making the play on the ball. But yeah, I think maybe Caleb lofted it up and let that ball hang a little bit too much. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the Bears had more opportunities to not make the play come down to a last minute drive, which we'll talk about. Senator, I want to start with the defense first, because I thought we talked about it on the preview show. I don't have a good answer for how the Bears are going to slow this Packers offense down, and I think you kind of saw that come to life a bit. Um, I think ultimately what determined why the Bears were so non-successful on defense is they got absolutely shredded whenever they blitzed the Packers. The Packers against the blitz, the Bears only had a pressure percentage of 18.2%, which was the third lowest on the week when they blitzed. They allowed 11.5 passing yards per play. So basically a first down whenever they blitzed with a 1.01 EPA per pass and 2 touchdowns on those plays as well. They got shredded, right? We talked about the Packers are the best team against the blitz, and it showed up here. They were getting beat in all types of ways. Crossers over the middle of the field that turned into big yak plays, deep down the field. Anytime they blitzed, the Packers had answers for it. And honestly, the Bears were much better when they did not blitz. The Packers EPA dropped from 1.01 EPA per pass, which again, that is an absurd number. Anything in the plus is decent, but a full point is absolutely crazy. But the Packers defense, or the Packers offense, passing offense, dropped from a negative 0.34 EPA on non-blitzes. So I think that's interesting to look at when the Bears will be going up against the Packers next week. Dennis Allen definitely doesn't want to sit on his toes or his hands and wants to force the issue. But again, the Bears don't have the pass rush to do that. So he probably felt like he had to blitz. But again, we kind of know the story with this Bears defense. If they can't fool you, if they can't throw off your protection, which they couldn't in this game, they're not going to be able to generate pressure. So you're just kind of exposing your coverage unit at that point. And you're taking less numbers in coverage and allowing these big explosive plays like they did against the Packers.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? You could kind of get away with that, when you're playing Spencer Rattler, Jackson Dart, and just some of the easier quarterbacks we played early on. But it was almost like when we played the Bengals, right? And we gave up almost 50 points. Joe Flacco is just an ultimate professional. Has so many years under his belt, but he plays very quick and he throws with anticipation and he knows how to get to that first, second read just very decisively. And Jordan Love has been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL at that. I mean, you've seen any time they blitz, this guy's just firing it out there, right? That Christian Watson, that man coverage where I love Chauncey Gardner Johnson. He's not a man corner, right? Christian Watson just made an athletic move on that slant, took it for a big gain. You've seen those with Jaden Reed as well. I mean, the coach, the route concepts, and the quarterback just being so quick, in that situation and experience. They really made us pay for that. I mean, they weren't flustering him at all. And then shout out to Jordan Love. Like when he gets even pressure in his face, the guy can just backpedal and just deliver a strike. Like the guy's really good under pressure.
He was awesome in this game. He was definitely hard to contain. Yeah, I totally agree, Steiner. Like his ability to throw off his back foot when the Bears did blitz and were able to like push the pot. That was the thing that was frustrating about the defense is like there was no free rushers. And we'll talk about the other side where that was like all the Packers were getting in the first half, where there was just like free rushers on free rushers in Caleb's face all day long. Like the Packers, it seemed like they picked it up every single time. And even when like you don't pick it up, his ability to throw off his back foot and throw it accurately down the field is really why he's played at such a high level this year. And it was a reason why he was just giving the Bears fits. And yeah, the Bears don't have, without Kyler Gordon, I just don't think you can have the same confidence in man coverage. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, that's not his game. The Packers knew it. They were targeting him a ton. He was getting torched in man coverage whenever they wanted to play it. And that's the thing with this defense, right? Like the secondary is definitely their strength, but you got to remember Jaylon Johnson missed all of training camp. He missed all of preseason. He's still learning this defense, right? This is a new defense. On that big play to Bo Melton, where he's that split field safety on that look, he's the cover two safety basically. He's getting caught flat-footed because his eyes are in the backfield. His eyes are in front of him. He's not getting depth. But again, like, yeah, you can blame him for that. But again, that's like an exotic coverage look that he's probably never done with Matt Eberflus, right? Like how many times has he been the cover two safety and like an inverted cover two look? Like he's never really done that before. So he's just getting back. He's just getting his legs underneath him on top of he's learning a new defense. Right. So like even the strength of this defense, Kyler Gordon missing the game in pre-warmups, like they can't even rely on that right now. So it's just a unit that's really trying to find themselves. And I don't have a great answer for that to get better throughout the season. And I think this was just an example why. But the fortunate part, Steiner, the only silver lining with this defensive performance was that they were better when they did not blitz. And I'm sure they're going to probably change up their approach when they play the Packers in 2 weeks.
Yeah, another thing about the defensive line kind of graded out a little bit weird to me. Like you've seen Montez Sweat with a 35% win percentage, Grady Jarrett with a 23, but they really didn't make their presence known. Like Montez Sweat only one sack. That was the only sack on the game for the defense as well. And then again, outside of that, you didn't see any of Gervon Dexter, didn't see any Austin Booker. So again, like it just never this season, it's never come fully together for this defensive line. And it's just like, do they have the ability, to? And I don't think you're seeing it there. So yeah, I mean, and again, it's just another disappointing performance as a whole.
I think the most disappointing part about the performance was Gervon Dexter because that was the matchup, right? Like the Packers tackles have actually been pretty good. And in pass protection, I should say, they've been pretty decent. I wasn't expecting a whole lot from them in that regard, but the guard spots have been really weak. Aaron Banks has really struggled, and Gervon Dexter had a really disappointing game in this one. And he's been up and down. He's had his moments, but the pass rush overall, Grady Jarrett had a decent game per PFF. I didn't really notice that. I think Jordan Love does a great job at avoiding sacks. So it's like he gets the ball out right before that pressure is about to come, kind of like Caleb in similar ways, where they're able to hold on to the ball longer than most quarterbacks and still avoid those sacks. So again, it's always going to be hard to generate pressure that turns into sacks against a quarterback that's really, really good at avoiding them. But at the end of the day, like it's your life is so much harder when you have to blitz or you feel like you have to blitz. And you don't have confidence in your front. And while they had decent games per PFF, I just wasn't noticing a lot of quick wins when watching the broadcast copy and then going back and watching the All-22s. I think the Packers had a really good game plan, but hopefully they can rely on some of these individual performances. Grady Jarrett, Montez Sweat, they had decent games moving forward, especially this next matchup. But ultimately, Snyder, like I think especially in the first half, you felt so much how much of a difference Micah Parsons makes, like for defenses, like for what the Packers were able to do and the quick pressure they were able to generate just to immediately ruin a play. The Bears just don't have that. The Bears just cannot do that because they don't have that guy that defenses or that offenses have to worry about.
Tom, can I rant just for a little bit?
Go for it. Go for it.
So I understand what a lot of Bears fans will say. Did they expect the Bears, to be this good this late in the season? Talking about the playoffs, year one under Ben Johnson? No, right? A lot of people will say, like, hey, as it stands, this is already considered a really good season. Me, you might disagree. A lot of people might disagree. My definition of a good season is if you win a playoff game. And that's just how I look at it. And I understand you're taking a team that was at the bottom of the barrel and you're making them respectable. That might be, that's really, really hitting a stride, right? The team as constructed, I think should have always been considered a little bit more win now. Just giving some of the veterans you have, some of the trades that you made. And again, I'm not saying like those were the expectations I had, but it's just the way the team was constructed. And then I started to believe in the coach, right? But you dial it back to the off season, and a lot of people say, we shouldn't have traded for a Trey Hendrickson or a Myles Garrett or a Micah Parsons. And just said, this team's not ready for that. I'm telling you, we've been so starved from meaningful games like this one. I mean, this was a huge game. I'm talking about you're the first seed. You can maybe take control of that. And then not only looking at the first seed, because you probably would have had some luck with it, but you're talking about winning the division, hosting a playoff game, right? Those are huge, huge implications. And, when you look at, the great teams, who win Super Bowls, they have a Von Miller, they have an Aaron Donald, a Chris Jones, it's someone that you can depend on to wreck a game. Like that's what moves the needle to win games like this, to win games in the playoffs. And you look at Micah Parsons, 7 pressures. The guy was absolutely wrecking us. And you've seen the way it opened things up for Rashawn Gary, and Agabari. Like, you just seen them having free rushes or easy one-on-one reps. And you could see in this, divisional matchup late into the season for the division lead, how that makes an impact. A lot of Bears fans will tell you, no, we need to save the draft capital. I'm telling you, when your expectations are playoffs and you want to win meaningful games down the stretch like this one, that's what you need, right? I don't want to take victory laps on a 9-8 season, 10-7 season, 11-6, and not win a playoff game or not host a playoff. I don't want to take victory laps for that, right? I want to win a playoff game, and I want it to come down to, I want to see, my team have a defensive lineman that can wreck games like this. And I think that's what really separates the contenders to the, maybe the pretenders.
Most definitely, Snyder. I think just in the Micah Parsons scenario, whenever a player that is like literally like the top player at their position or second, however you want to put it, like top 3 player at their position, second contract player, that player comes available, you better be interested. There's like, unless you need a quarterback and you're like one of the worst teams in the league, you should be offering that for that player. You should be in that mix, because you can't tell me that if the Bears made that offer, the Cowboys probably would have went with the Bears offer over the Packers. Like, just knowing the expectations for each team, they definitely would have made that move. And I'll take it a step further with the Bears. The half measures at addressing this position are going to kill them. They have to have some tough conversations on what they want to do next year with their defensive line, because this is the missing piece. It's so hard to look at both of these teams and not look at the major difference. The major difference is Micah Parsons. And the major difference, I think, that's holding the Bears back. Obviously, there's some progression that needs to take that needs to happen on offense. There's no doubt about it. I think for some consistency, because the first half was really bad. We'll talk about why the first half was really bad. Micah Parsons was a huge reason why the Bears were so bad in the first half and had just basically had to throw a portion of their offense out the window because they couldn't do it because of the Packers' ability to obviously use Micah Parsons and then use him or use Micah Parsons to scheme up some free rushers. But that's the major difference between these two teams. The Bears do not have that guy that can dictate games on defense. The Bears are always in recovery mode on defense. They're always trying to stop. They're never bringing the action to other teams because they do not have that guy up front that can dictate games. They don't have a guy that can dictate anything. So the Bears have just taken so many half measures that they're kind of strapped out right now. And you got to wonder who's going to be on the chopping block to allow them to go after a player like that, because that's what they need to do. They need their own Micah Parsons. That's really what I think is the major thing that's holding this team back. Obviously, there's some progression that needs to happen on offense. You're expecting that to come with Ben Johnson. You're expecting that to come with another year with everyone in this offense. I feel pretty good about that happening. We're already seeing some of that happening throughout the course of this season. But on defense, until they get that guy, this is going to be a below average unit. And it's going to be really hard to win against these better teams deep into the playoffs. Like, it's going to be hard to do that when they don't have a guy who can change the math for you up front.
And that's the thing. Like, you look at a Dennis Allen style of defense, he only wants to win with 4, right? Mm-hmm. So you need a jack of all trades, one-on-one rep winner. Now, credit to Dennis Allen. He doesn't have, those horses in his stable. So he has to get creative. He has to disguise blitzes. He has to be a little bit more aggressive in sending the house to attempt to generate any type of pressure. So I'm not really blaming him for blitzing Jordan Love. It just sucks that he's just so good at it. That's not really something you come across too often, where you have just a coach, a scheme, a quarterback just so cool under pressure like that. I'm not really criticizing him for his game plan, but it's more about an indictment of like, damn, you're not really you didn't really give him that game record or that defensive line that he ideally wants. So he has to dig in his bag of tricks to, try different things. And unfortunately, against this matchup, it didn't work out in his favor.
Yeah, and I don't fault him either, Snyder, because he feels like he has to do that to get pressure. But at the same time, in the playoffs, you're going up against everyone that's going to figure you out, right? If that's all you can do, Matt Stafford, Jordan Love, Jared Goff, they're all going to figure you out, right? If that's the only thing you can do to generate a pass rush, and if you can't generate a pass rush with 4, they're just going to pick you apart. Like you give them all day to throw. So that's where the Bears are at right now. That's where that missing piece is just, I think, I hate to be a dead horse. Anyone that listens to us, we talk about this a lot, but it's so hard to talk about the future of this season without that looming, because it's such a missing piece, right? And I understand that. I'm not going to fault Poles that much for not finding that guy yet. I think missing out on Micah Parsons was a huge misstep. I wish the Bears were more aggressive in getting him, and it's even worse that he went to the Bears' rivals, but that's history. It's done. And look, the Bears, since Poles has been hired, it's been all about fixing the offense. And I don't fault him for using all of his first-round picks to fix the offense. That's what he should have been doing. But now it's time to stop taking those half measures. Stop using round 2 picks on developmental guys. Stop paying free agents and trading for guys that haven't shown they can consistently change games as pass rushers. You need to pay the premium to find that elite guy, because we'll talk about it right now. This is a good transition point. The Packers defense, the Bears could not drop back and pass in this game. They just couldn't do it. They could not do it. They could not pick up the different unique pressure looks that the Packers were throwing at them. Snyder, I had this stat. The Bears had 6 non-play action dropbacks on 3rd down. The Packers had a time to pressure of 2.15 seconds, and they didn't blitz on a single one of those snaps. So that all comes down to, when you go back and watch those plays, the Bears offense is so worried about Micah Parsons. They have to get multiple hands on him to slow him down. And the Packers know it. They know that they're showing so much attention to him that it just schemes up so many free looks for the rest of the Packers defensive line. They're looping guys. They're getting free rushes. They're just destroying plays from the moment the ball is snapped because the Bears have no answers. They can't drop back and pass because they're in bad down and distance situations where they need to pick up a lot of yards. And the Bears offensive line just can't pick up the different stunts and stuff that they're throwing at him because they have to account for Micah Parsons. They don't have an offensive lineman. Even Darnell Wright, they can leave one-on-one with Micah Parsons. That's how good he is. Darnell Wright had a really bad game here. So it just allowed them to just totally destroy plays. And they were really bad on third down and stuff like that. And then in the second half, the Bears were just like, fuck it. We're not going to drop back and pass anymore. We're going to run the ball and play action. I think Caleb Williams had the highest play action percentage this week because they could not drop back and pass. They couldn't pick up those looks. They couldn't block it up. We talked about this game is going to come down to, can the Bears block it up long enough to get those chunks down the field? In true drop back situations, they couldn't do that. It came in play action and broken plays that they were able to salvage some offense. But to me, that was the biggest difference in this game, that whenever the Bears had to drop back and pass, which was largely most of the first half, it was just an absolute nightmare disaster.
Yeah. Tom, I don't know if you've seen this play, and I don't think I've ever seen this in a game. I seen a play where Michael, and this is why I say, like, yes, Myles Garrett's going to win Defensive Player of the Year. He'll lead everything in, stats, advanced stats, but I will always say that Micah Parsons is the best football player in the NFL. I seen a play where he is kind of like schemed inside where he's one-on-one against Jonah Jackson, right? And he totally beats Jonah Jackson, but as he's doing that, he pushes Darnell Wright out of the play. So he's almost just like taking out two offensive linemen and just like pushing him, then beating the guy that's in front of him and just wrecking the play. It just plays like that like, holy shit, this is a Hall of Fame level talent because they could just absolutely take over a game. And why it elevates the game of Rashawn Gary, Anakabari. I know Devontae Wyatt is out, but why he's having his best season as well. It's just stuff like that you can't, like, you can't win against that, right? But yeah, I mean, we couldn't do anything the first half, right? And like you said, a lot of the Bears' best plays came from Caleb doing his special things, extending the plays, making a throw on the run. But at the same time, like, again, you love that, right? You got to give a ton of credit to that, but that's not it's not really like the clean operation that Ben wants in this offense, right? That's not the clean operation that's going to continuously move the chains, drive in and drive out. So you just want it to be a little bit more clean.
Yeah, you definitely want it to be more clean. The Bears run game, I thought, really struggled in the first quarter. They kind of turned things around in the second quarter, the second, third quarter, and fourth. They actually were pretty good at running the ball efficiency-wise. They had a positive EP. I think they had like the fourth highest EPA per rush on the week. And then their success rate was really good. They didn't break off any explosives, which definitely hurts. Like, that was the missing element, I felt like that. But we kind of knew that going in. They weren't going to be able to just like rip off those huge chunk runs that they were doing against the Eagles. This was a better defense. This was a better run defending second level. So that was to be expected. But at the end of the day, like, I think the Bears, it was kind of like the same story that we've seen throughout this season for this team, where they're making mistakes early in games. Things aren't clicking. And against the Packers, when they have Micah Parsons, your margin for error gets that much smaller, right? It shrinks, right? Because whenever you're in those third and longs, whenever you're behind the sticks, the Bears had no shot. The Bears had no chance unless Caleb did something crazy. Their big plays came off of all play action. Like, that's what they had to do to block up Micah Parsons. So that's a hard way to live sometimes. I love play action. It's a great tool to, I think, scheme up some easy looks. But at the end of the day, that's a hard tool to continue to rely on when the game isn't close like it wasn't in the first half. Like, you can't, if your run game's not clicking and you're down 2 scores, like, it is hard to use like, you want multiple options in the passing game, and that's not really what play action allows you to do. So yeah, Ben kind of knew that. That's why he called a bunch of screens. That's why it was mostly play action, because the Bears just had no chance in those true drop back situations. And this was never going to be a good true drop back team, or like somewhere that's where this was never going to be an area of the game where the Bears could live. But like to have absolutely no chance is kind of a scary place. But I'm glad the Bears adjusted. They definitely were just like, screw that. We're not going to do that. And they got the run game going. They got the play action game going. And then Caleb, I thought, had a really, really strong second half.
Yeah, and then also, Tom, I think prior to that, all those like screens and all those like motion, the Packers were super instinctive and just blowing that shit up. So like none of that shit was working as well. But yeah, the second half, I think it did show a lot. You've seen them play just a lot quicker, a lot cleaner. And they were just making plays. You've seen the run game kind of get going. I mean, the first halftime, we had like 11 yards passing. Like it was something crazy like that. And then you didn't really see like the impact in the run game at all. But the Bears actually ended up finishing with like 135 yards rushing. Like they got it going a little bit. They were way more efficient. I think the EPA for both Monangai and Swift were both above 4. So, you in that second half, you were kind of leaning on them. Then it was opening up the play action. It's just wish that you may could have got that the full game.
Yeah, most definitely. It's for sure. You wish that that run game could have got going earlier on. I think that was a major reason why the Bears were in so many shitty situations in that first quarter. And then, yeah, I think it just took a minute for the passing game to click. To be fair, Center, we sound pretty negative right now, and I don't want to sound negative. Like the whole game wasn't bad. I'm actually really happy with how the Bears responded. That is not what we're accustomed to as Bears fans. Like when the Packers are able to get like 2 long touchdowns, those games are usually over. And we all kind of thought that. We were talking in our group chat like, oh, like this is over. This game was over before it even started. And the way the Bears rallied back was incredible. Like that just goes to credit to Ben Johnson and this team for believing that they can hang. And they were having a ton of success on offense. Ben Johnson was dialing up a great game. I just felt like it felt like in that second half, they were one step ahead of the Packers defense every step of the way. And even on the last play of the game, I mean, Cole Kmet's open, right? Like it just Keyshawn Nixon made a great play. So I'm really happy with how the Bears responded. I thought Caleb had a couple incredible throws. I had him charted down with 2 big time throws. It was that one to Devin Duvernay, which I thought was an absolute dime. And then the one to Cole Kmet down the sideline, 2 explosive passes where the Bears really, really needed them. And everything was basically covered up. So I really like how they responded. I like how the run game got on track. I like how we've seen in the past, Nagy really, and Shane Waldron, I guess, last year, really comes to mind where if the run game's not working, they'll just totally scrap it and go away from it. And that was not the case in this game. They continued to rely on that run game, and it got going. It was still, they were more efficient on the ground than the Packers were. So I think there was a lot to be encouraged about how this team responded, and it shows you that they have some resilience in them. It just, and I think in order to really be the better team when the Bears go up against the Packers again, they can't afford the lull. Like they need to be this good for 4 quarters.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it. And that's the thing, right? You're right. What we've seen in the second half it's just like makes you itch for more, right?
Yes.
Because I've been saying why, even though, okay, we mentioned kind of like the shortcomings of the defensive line. The reason why I've always been so excited and so optimistic and why I believe my Bears can hang with any team is because this offense hasn't been fully unlocked, right? You haven't seen it put together for a full game, that the run game's going, the pass game's going, the offensive line is going, Ben Johnson in his bag going. Like, you haven't seen it click for the whole game. But I think you've seen it on the second half of the game, right? You've seen them respond. You've seen the offense feed off of each other. And, it was just an awesome second half. Now, if the Bears could do that for a full game, maybe they win this game. And, maybe it does click. And maybe you go against another tough match. You play the Packers at home in just a couple of weeks. maybe you put it together for a full game and you actually maybe have a dominant win, right? No, like that's just the upside that I talk about. If this offense can put it together from open to and close it out, like that's the upside this offense absolutely can have, and maybe mask some of that defensive line. I don't think I'm crazy to say that if it all clicks, then you could start maybe winning in dominant fashion, and then just running it down their throats. Because I think there was a period, Tom, where I don't know if it was like the second half. It was something like this. I could be off. Like the Bears' time of possession was like 17 minutes to like 5. Like it was something crazy like that at some point of the game because the way they were running. Now you do that when you have a 10-point lead, a 2 possession lead. Those are, if the offense is clicking, those are the situations you could come into and actually seal away if you are dominating the clock like that. So again, kind of ranting a little bit, but that's just the upside that I could see with this offense when it's clicking from the start, and then you can just totally finish it out.
Most definitely. And I'm glad they found their formula at some point, even though it wasn't clicking early on, for them to just know like, hey, this is what who we're going to be. And we're going to continue to do this no matter what the game script was, I thought was awesome. I mean, it just shows that for a team that's lacked identity for so long under the coaches that they've had, that's not who this team is. They know exactly who they are, and they know exactly who they're going to be. They're going to live and die this way. And I thought that was really cool to see that it started to click and work for them in the second half of the game. And it really had the Packers on their heels. It was what brought them back. Center, I thought that the Bears really missed Rome Odunze in this game. We haven't even brought him up. We talked about the possibility that he might not play. Turns out he has a stress fracture, and he's considered week to week. He's been playing through it all season. I think it kind of explains maybe some of the play that we've seen from him, because that's a pretty serious injury to play through. I thought, to me, Steiner, whenever I watch, this has been the case for 2 years in some regards. I just don't think DJ Moore and Caleb have a great connection. I don't think that's not one of the guys that Caleb trusts a whole lot, especially in those timing throws, for better or for worse. I'm not faulting DJ Moore at all, but like I had Caleb charted down with 2 turndowns in this game. And turndowns, what I consider are just like open throws that he needs to make, and he doesn't make them for whatever reason. Both of those plays were to DJ Moore, and I think that's just like a reoccurring theme that I don't know why he just does not feel as comfortable targeting him like he does Burden, Rome, or Loveland. And yeah, that's going to be something the Bears are definitely going to have to explore in the offseason, with DJ Moore being the highest paid receiver on this team. And I think, for him to only have negative yards in this game, I know there's a couple plays that fans are pointing out he's open or whatnot. I think, that stinks, but like that, again, like when you're looking at how the Bears can, better use their resources, it's definitely something you have to consider moving forward when you get a healthy Rome Odunze back, and just how, even with Rome's absence, how still you weren't able to get DJ Moore going.
Yeah, I mean that's and I love DJ Moore, right? That is my guy through and through. I've never turned on him. You haven't either. We understand the talent. I actually seen a tweet. I forget who it was from. Kind of like maybe criticizing Ben Johnson a little bit. Like, hey, how come you're not utilizing your $27 million wide receiver in target? And a lot of Bears fans push back on it. I'm just seeing the way that they are totally over DJ Moore. And, I think there should be maybe just a little bit of balance. Just, come to reality like, hey, it's just not a good fit with Caleb. The connection's not there. And maybe Ben isn't utilizing right. I think there's a little bit of a balance there. But here, the reality of the situation is it just makes no sense for again, when everyone's healthy, he's probably the 3rd or 4th target leader in targets on the team. There's never a case where that warrants making north of $20 million against the cap. And I think if you trade him, you could save a ton of money on there like that. It's just simple math, right? If you have Rome, Burden, Loveland, Komet, and Zacchaeus all getting some action, and DJ Moore is in the like kind of like similar target share as Olamide Zacchaeus and like Cole Kmet, is it worth paying him that much money? No, right? It just makes more sense to move on, put that money towards the defensive line, maybe some more secondary depth. Maybe you have a conversation at, if you can get aggressive at the left tackle position, whatever it is, they're just more responsible and more important needs that the Bears have versus paying DJ Moore all that money to be what, third, fourth, fifth target leader. Just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think that's definitely I didn't want to like have a huge lengthy conversation about that now. I just thought it was interesting. Like I think there's truly something there where there's reasons why that connection has never been great between Caleb and DJ. Like there's reasons why Caleb felt more comfortable with Keenan Allen. I don't know what those reasons are, but like I think it's a legit thing now. I think we have enough evidence to say like, hey, they're not a great fit for each other. It's like almost like the Kyler, Marvin Harrison Jr., Trevor Lawrence, BTJ. Like I feel kind of the same way about that connection. And it's funny, like shout out to Start Kyle Orton on Twitter. He was talking about like DJ Moore just like not being a great fit in like a highly driven timing offense. I kind of agree with that. I think there's a reason why he had his best season with Justin Fields, who was like totally anti-timing. I think he just maybe needs to be in like a different, more vertically based offense. Maybe that's where he's at his best, because that's what the Bears were in 2023, where he was having a lot of success just on the outside, not as the X necessarily, but like just on more of a vertically driven route tree. And yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting conversation to have, but I was not very pleased with the Bears are supposed to have all this wide receiver depth, and like Burden is really talented, but he's still hard to trust in his own right? Like he's still like there was I think like right before the half, that crosser where Burden just like not in the right. He just doesn't sit down in the zone where he needs to be, and Caleb misses the throw. And it's like, okay, like how is this still happening? But at the end of the day, Burden, this is all new things for him. He was not asked to do this at Mizzou. Exactly. It was always going to be a project. It was always going to take time. That's why he couldn't see the field more. And now you're kind of just living through those mistakes, which I totally agree with and I understand. But like when Rome is out, you're kind of, for all the depth that you have, if you're not going to DJ Moore, you are kind of strapped on the guys that you trust in this offense to get the ball to.
Yeah, and that's where that connection, because it's so frustrating, Tom, because you talk about DJ Moore, the individual player. The guy could do special things in the yards after the catch, has gotten a lot of opportunities. And I don't even know if his game is, I don't know if he's aged out of that. You don't know because he doesn't get the opportunities.
Right.
And then he was always so strong at the catch point, coming down with, the 50-50 ball.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Johnson doesn't like that. Caleb Williams doesn't like that. So again, all of that, like you don't even know if you could trust him because there's no opportunity there, right? And then, like you said, Luther Burden, he's still growing in like the instinct and the IQ part of the game, right? That you don't really want to rely on that, right? So it's just a tough situation, especially with Rome out, because that is the guy that Caleb obviously trusts the most, obviously gives the most opportunity, and if he is gonna throw a 50-50 ball, it's gonna be to Rome, right? You do think I would like to see Loveland get a little bit more involved there, because that guy, I actually think Loveland has the best natural, pure ball skills as far as just like seeing the ball at its highest point, his ability to box out defenders and just get up there with his length in his arms and just use those strong hands to come down with it. So I would love for Loveland to kind of be that safety blanket when maybe Rome is out, and maybe you can see that more. Because I just think he is, as far as, I think he's the best football player as far as like the pass catching unit. Just natural skill, special athlete. So maybe, as the season keeps moving forward and we're out Rome for a couple of games, maybe you can rely on Loveland a little bit more, because that's what I would be leaning towards.
100%. I think you're seeing him get more involved, but again, like I don't want to fault anybody in in these situations. I think it was just kind of the circumstance, but like with the Bears drop back offense not being where it needs to be, it's not like these players were like in isolation and they're not winning. Like the Bears offense is kind of scheme like they're scheming up primary guys, right? So it's hard to like weigh in on like who's getting open or not. It's like no, like this is more like driven by the structure of the offense. That's what I'm trying to say, because it's so play action centric. It's so there's only so many guys in the route. They're keeping guys in to protect. Like that's why like the statistics aren't crazy for any single person. But I thought that you had even more issues in those drop back situations when you were lacking Rome Odunze. You don't have that guy you trust on those third down situations, which we know the Bears do. But yeah, I'd definitely like to see Loveland in more of those situations. I thought was really good in this game as well. Honestly, the offense just overall, like whenever they didn't have to drop back and pass, they were really, really effective. And I'm sure the Packers will have some adjustments next time around. So the Bears will have to prepare for that. But overall, I was pretty pleased with how they responded. Caleb's performance, people were talking about the missed throw because it was like the first thing they saw in the game where he missed DJ Moore over the middle. Other than that, I thought he was really accurate all game. He made some pretty crazy throws on the run. I really liked the game he played. There was a couple misreads. There was a couple turndowns, but all in all, Marvin Morris pointing out that he should have ran for the first down. He definitely could have ran for the first down. Again, we talked about this play. I don't want to rehash it earlier in the episode. Keyshawn Nixon made a great play. He peels off DJ Moore, and he wasn't supposed to be there. So I don't really fault Caleb necessarily. That was just kind of a great play by the defense, in my opinion. But yeah, he definitely could have ran for the first down. There's some odd like lack of awareness on Caleb's part where he doesn't like pick up first downs and stuff like that, where he'll just slide way too early. I think that needs to change. Like that happened like it didn't matter. It didn't end up mattering because the Bears were able to pick it up each time. But there was a throwaway on a 2nd and 1 where he easily could have got the first down. And then he also slides and takes a hit he shouldn't have way too early, I think on the second to last drive, where he climbs the pocket and just slides right before the first down. Look, I understand trying to protect yourself. You're the guy you're the most important player on the team. But at the same time, like, dude, pick up the first down. If you only need a yard, like just pick up the first down.
He needs a little bit of awareness in that situation. Do you remember on the Steelers game where like he's running out of bounds, but he's taking his time to get fully out of bounds? And I think it was Jalen Ramsey or Patrick Queen just totally put him on his ass. But I know he was slowing down and he was running him out of bounds, but he was still in bounds when he got put on his ass. So just like overall awareness, he needs to step that up a little bit.
For sure. Yeah. There's definitely been like a handful of moments where that's been the case, where it's like, okay, like I get you're still learning, but like you got to have a better feeling for where you're at on the field sometimes. But overall, I was pretty pleased with this performance. I thought he's had three pretty rough games before this one. The Eagles game was okay. But I thought, all the way from the Vikings to the Steelers game to the Eagles games, they definitely weren't his best games. And I thought this was definitely a bounce back in the right direction. And I'm glad to see that he really turned it on when the Bears needed him to. And that's always a plus. And he only took 1 sack for all the pressure the Packers were able to generate. He only took 1 sack. And that was on a completely unblocked pressure. So all in all, pleased with the offense. They definitely, hopefully they can finish next time. But again, it doesn't come down to one play. I think that if anything, Snyder, I would credit the Bears' loss the most to their slow start in the first quarter.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, here, I see, obviously this one stings, right? Again, you're talking about first seed, division, and, it kind of puts a wrench on that right now. It leaves Bears fans a little bit more worried. So I fully understand that. I came across a post by,
I think Snyder just had some technical issues, but I think we got him back.
Yep, back like I never left. What I was saying, I seen a post by a Packers fan just saying like, "Hey, as a diehard Packers fan, give Caleb his credit. He said, we are one of the best defensive across the league. And that's probably one of, if not the second best performance he's seen from a quarterback the entire year. So just for a Packers fan, like a reputable Packers fan, I forget who it was, just to kind of give Caleb that shout out and give him his credit for the second half that he played, the plays that he made. Against his style of defense. I think it's actually spoke a lot of volume to me. Because, I mean, this game definitely stung. There's actually a lot of takeaways that you're like, damn, the Bears made this really close. We're like almost a play and a 2-point conversion away. We're right there against a damn good team. There is a lot to still keep you optimistic and still be excited for.
There's definitely a lot to be. Again, I that's why I feel ultimately, obviously, I'm not happy they lost. Obviously, I'm not happy they're not the first seed anymore. But like, I wasn't worried. Like, I never thought the Bears would just like totally get outmanned by the Packers. But like, it was a possibility, right? Like, there was definitely like we saw it kind of unfolding in the first half that okay, the Packers look a lot better than the Bears, and the fact that they were able to storm back the way they did, it just shows that this team knows that they can hang with the Packers, who are one of the best teams in the NFL, and they'll have a chance to win, in 2 weeks. And ultimately, too, like this wasn't even the Bears' best team in full form. And when I say that, I'm talking about moving forward for years on, right? Like this Bears team is still growing, where I think the Packers are closer to the more of their finished form, which is a damn good team. I'm not trying to like say that to water down to the Packers, but like, Packers are a contender, right? The Bears were not supposed to be that this year, and it's encouraging to see for sure. All right, Snyder, I think we covered this game pretty up and down. Is there anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
No, I mean, here we have the Browns next week. Which you're hoping, I'm not going to overlook anyone. You hope it's that game that the offense can continue what they had going in the second half of the Packers game. But hey, you get the Packers at home the week after that, Saturday Night Football under the lights. And hey, maybe you put a full game together. Maybe you get your revenge. Maybe, you get a little bit help from, some other teams this week. Maybe you are fighting for that first place in the division again. So it's right there. And like I say, if the offense can click, maybe mask a little bit of defensive line, and you keep some of that turnover luck going, the Bears could find a way to win and win in a dominant fashion. That is the upside of this Bears team. If this offense can put it together, it's not crazy to say that it can happen just in 2 weeks in that revenge game against the Packers. So, again, I'm still very fired up about that.
For sure. They definitely, I think we've seen that they have the potential and capabilities to do that, but it's really important that we're going to talk about this on the next preview show, that they close out this Browns game, because it's kind of a trap game, right? It's the Browns are quote unquote a bad team placed right in between two huge games. So it's really important that they take care of business, because they can't really afford to lose another game.
Right.
But yeah, we will be back to preview that Browns game. So until we are back, keep it real and bear down.
Bear down.